All right.
Thank you.
It's 9 o'clock, and I welcome you to the December 1st meeting of the Blue Earth County Board of Commissioners. We will start with our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll go into our agenda review. Bob?
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda this morning.
I'll move the agenda.
Landcamer seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis.
Yes.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye. All right. And it looks like we're going to go directly into the County Ditch 86 establishment of a new lateral public hearing. Okay, so I get to start. Good morning. Our hearing today is the preliminary hearing on the proposed lateral to CD 86. The purpose of this hearing is to consider the petition for the drainage project with all matters pertaining to the preliminary survey report. Since we may have the public calling in on the conference call line, I would ask that staff and others introduce themselves prior to speaking. Additionally, can anyone else joining the meeting please identify themselves? We will now have the drainage staff go over the jurisdictional documents. Craig.
Yeah, this is Craig Austin, Drainage Manager. We'll start off. The hearing notice was mailed to landowners on November 18, 2020. Next thing on the agenda, and that's it for the jurisdictional documents. The next thing is actually the DNR report, which is part of your packet, but statute requires that it be read into the record. The DNR report was sent to myself, Craig Austin, Blue Earth County Drainage Authority. Subject matter, it was a County Ditch 86 lateral improvement. Preliminary engineering report, Blue Earth County, Minnesota. Dear Mr. Austinson, on behalf of the Director of Division Ecological and Water Resources of the Department of Natural Resources, I offer the following comments on the preliminary engineer's report. For the project referenced above in accordance with Minnesota Statute 103E.255. Of general concern is in all proposed ditch improvements projects is the cumulative effect that the projects have upon the downstream resources and property owners in terms of quantity and quality of water that is received. Project-specific and cumulative impacts from ditch projects can result in downstream flooding, erosion, and degraded water quality. For these reasons, we urge careful evaluation of the project to ensure that it is consistent with priority concerns identified in the Blue Earth Water Plan. The water plan includes priorities for water quality, drainage management, erosion prevention, and emphasizes the use of the best management practices to control and reduce excess nutrients from entering surface waters. Project-specific comments. The drainage standard of 0.5 inches per day is exceeded. The proposal includes a new 24-inch that provides exactly drainage coefficient of 0.5 inches per day. A smaller tile, when combined with the in-place private tile, would likely provide the same drainage coefficient if both were accounted for in the modeling instead of proposing a 24-inch tile. Use a 18-inch tile. The preliminary engineer's report mentions a 5-acre surge pond in option 2, but modeling was not completed to show the benefits. New wetland restorations in the wetland should be pursued in lieu of the 5-acre surge pond and would likely be eligible for MDM grant funds. These restorations would store significant volumes of water, allowing for reduced discharge rates, better infiltration, habitat, and water quality. Other wetland restorations have been completed in the watershed. so the practice has been proven in the area. An opportunity for wetland restoration in the northwest quarter of Section 2. Page 4 of the preliminary engineer's report includes Table 1, outflow rates, cubic feet per second for existing conditions and for proposed option 1. The outflow rate is projected to increase to 4% during a 5-year event and 5% during the 10-year event. These discharge rates should be reduced to less than the existing rates or maintained because the Big Cobb is impaired and does not need higher flows. Flooding is already a well-documented problem in the Big Cobb watershed. Resources: the Minnesota Department of Agriculture is the Best Management Practice Handbook, which highlights the best management practices to consider. Practices that fit well into this watershed include cover crops. During peak flow periods, runoff from agricultural lands can be reduced through the use of cover crops. Cover crops help protect soil and in the retention of soil moisture, build soil organic matter, and improve water quality. Controlled drainage systems allow for increased management of soil moisture. During the summer, drainage is restricted to allow increased water retention in soil profile, and during the fall, drainage is increased to allow for harvest and fall tillage. The Minnesota Board of Soil and Water provides grants to demonstrate and implement eligible best management practices. Grant funds are made available through the Multi-Purpose Drainage Management Grant Program. Please contact Dan Girolamo, Area Hydrologist, at 507-362-8778, or email Daniel.Girolamo@statemn.us if you have any questions about this letter. And that is signed Todd Colander, EWR District Manager. And that's the DNR report.
All right, thank you very much. We will now hear from the petitioner's attorney. Would you please introduce yourselves for those listening on the conference line?
Good morning, this is Bruce Sellers, I'm attorney for petitioners. We filed this petition with the board. It was reviewed by Kurt Dieter. Mr. Dieter found that it met all the statutory requirements, and we provided an opinion letter to the Drainage Authority to proceed with the appointment of an engineer to complete a preliminary engineering study. Mr. Brandel has completed that, INAS has completed that, and we find ourselves here. I would request that the board approve the preliminary engineering report after presentation and proceed with a detailed survey report. That's all I have.
All right, thank you very much, Bruce. We will now hear from the engineer. Would you please introduce yourself for those listening on the conference line?
Hi, this is Chuck Brandel with ISG. You guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yep, got it.
I am sharing the wrong side here. Hang on. One second. There we go. Sorry about that. All right, I have with me, 1 second again. Here we go. Now we're ready to go. I have with me Jed Whitmer, who has helped put the report together for the lateral for CD 86. Here's the outline of the presentation.
Chuck, excuse me, we can't see your screen at the moment.
Yeah, we can't see the screen.
Nope, it flashed up for a minute and now it's gone.
Okay.
Now we can see it. Thank you.
There you go.
All right. Go back. Here's Jen and myself. Little presentation outline. So in the process, like Bruce, Mr. Sellers said, we're at the preliminary engineer hearing. We've completed our report. There was a petition. The purpose of the hearing is to develop and obtain feedback from landowners and the Drainage Authority, and to make sure the project is feasible, practical, cost-effective, and a necessity. So the existing conditions, the watershed is approximately 5,100 acres. There's about 81 feet of drop throughout the watershed. It was established in 1958. There was an improvement in 1998. That improvement was repaired in 2017. There's been some sporadic ditch cleaning and other repairs, and then we did do alternative side inlets in 2018 with some funding through Bowser. So here's a map of the existing watershed shown in red. The lateral project that we're looking at is only 417 acres in the southern portion of the watershed, shown outlined in purple. Here are just a couple imageries, or site imageries of that area, and you can see this is the area that the lateral is going in. It does have flooding and has had flooding. If we go back to the map of the whole watershed, you can see many areas have laterals or branches to them, except for this southern area. So there was never a public branch that was extended into this area, and that is the purpose of this project. Let Jen go into the proposed design.
There are 4 aspects that we look at when we're doing proposed tile design. We try for a minimum 5 years cover over the tile. We try to implement as many best management practices as we can, in this case water quality intakes. We design for a 1/2 inch per day drainage coefficient, which is the industry standard, and we make sure that the outlet is adequate. We try not to increase the flow at the outlet. Is the proposed watershed, go to the next one. Takes up most of section 3 Beaufort Township. The proposed design is about 2,000 feet of 24-inch tile to create lateral X. The alignment follows an existing 12-inch private tile and then crosses Township Road 94. We designed it for a 1/2 inch per day drainage coefficient. So 24-inch tile at 0.15% flow. We did have to fill some over the tile to get adequate cover, so that's the orange area shown in the plan view.
So to obtain adequate cover, just because this area is very low, there will need to be a little bit of fill placed over the tile. So there'll be somewhat of a hump there where the tile is, just to make sure we have adequate cover.
We do have an option for proposing storage if there is landowner interest and if we can obtain external funding. This includes a 5-acre storage pond at the outlet of lateral X to take some of the water for the entire system watershed. Part of our design includes a hydraulic model. We use a program called XPSWMM. We use LiDAR, soil data, precipitation data to model what the water looks like flowing through our proposed system. Here are results. This shows the flows at the outlet and at the lateral. So we have a reduction in flows on the 2-year, 50-year, and we match on the 100-year. We have a slight increase on the 5, 10, and 25-year events.
Some of the main reason for that is we are reducing the surface water runoff. And if we modify some of the intakes, I think we can get all of these to 0, that you'll have more tile flow, but we could reduce some of the overland flow, which is part of the problem in this area.
And then at the outlet for the 5 and 10 year, we show a 1.2 and a 1.68 inch increase in max flooding, which isn't too much, but something to look at.
When we put together a cost estimate for the project, we look at the construction practices. We know we have to publicly bid the project. We asked for a list of subcontractors, a responsible contractor, a list of equipment, project references, and a bid bond. We do require that contractors have experience doing this type of work before we award it to them. We also have, and it really doesn't apply to this project, but that every 2,500 feet we make the contractor clean up, chisel plow, and complete the work, or we can stop payment on more tile. This has been a good practice to clean up sites. This project is small enough that this would all happen within 2,000 feet. We also do some tile investigation to locate the existing tile, and that's included in the cost estimate. We specify HDPE or dual wall pipe or RCP. 95% of these projects go in as dual wall or HDPE. We make sure all the tiles are connected. We have intakes at road crossings. We'll have an intake before the tile dumps into the open ditch. Here's just some pictures of how we do private connections on the right and larger connections on the left. Some pictures of road crossings. We'll have one township road crossing on the project and plan on open cutting. We've included temporary damages at 100 feet wide that we would ask the viewers to assign a dollar benefit to. But we've included that in our project cost estimate. Looking at the proposed costs for option 1 without storage, we've got a total cost of $162,000. We add in a storage pond, 5-acre storage pond, about $388,000 that could be downsized. We will double check and see if there is some funding available for that. But at this point, I think we can manage flows without it, and thus we are recommending option 1, unless we can get some outside funding. We did look at a multi-purpose drainage management plan, which is a requirement of the drainage statute. We looked at multiple measures, including waterways, buffers, controlled drainage, 2 ditches, alternative side inlets, storage, wetlands. We put together a plan for the entire watershed. Now our area is down here. One of the options is the DNR said that you could do some wetland restorations or storage. This is the area that's being proposed for the improvement. I believe this area is already in an easement. And maybe something could be done to enhance this section, which is currently flooding some water. There are multiple practices throughout the watershed that could also be implemented. We did already do alternative side inlets along portions of the open ditch. Craig read the DNR comments. Just a very quick summary of some responses. The comment that the drainage coefficient will increase because the private 12-inch tile will be next to the new 24-inch tile. We plan on connecting the 12-inch tile in to the new line in a few spots and having one outlet into the open ditch. That will restrict the outlet to a 1/2-inch drainage coefficient. We also did include the storage pond. If there is interest in that, we could look for funding and give more detail into that. At this point, we don't feel it's cost effective for the size of the project. And then the increased flow rates. We did talk about this, that we could modify some of the drop intakes and get to at least matching the peak flows with the existing flows. So with that, it's our opinion that the project is cost-effective, practical, and feasible, will be a public benefit, and contribute to public welfare, and thus we are recommending approval of the preliminary engineer report. At this point, option 1 is recommended unless we can obtain some outside funding or some interest to go into a program for some additional storage. That's a summary of our report.
All right, thank you very much. All right. We will now open this meeting. All right, Chuck, you're going to have to put your thing on mute. There you go. We'll now open this hearing for public comment. The hearing is being recorded, so please state your name and address And as a courtesy to others wishing to comment, please limit your comments to 3 minutes per person. Would anyone like to comment on County Ditch 86? Please state your name and address. Is there anyone out there that would wish to comment on County Road, or County Ditch number 86? Get their roads and ditches going here. Maybe that road tour is getting me. County Ditch 86. And one last time, is there anyone else that would like to comment on County Ditch number 86? Hearing no comments, I bring this back to the
Mr. Chair,
board.
if I might interrupt just for a second, I don't know if we've been able to unmute the participants.
Mr. Phillips, if you have a comment, I believe you're going to have to unmute your phone. If you don't have a comment, maybe state that as well, just so we know we're not missing your comments. You could also type a comment into the chat if you prefer.
At this time, everybody online is muted. If you do wish to comment, you have to unmute or type a comment on the chat line. Did anything, Jesse? No? All right. Hearing nobody and seeing nothing, I bring this back to the board.
I would move approval to move this forward to the next step, Mr. Chair. Brunder?
Seconds?
Would this be option 1?
Correct. And still pursue the pond.
Pursue the grant for
Yeah, if they
option
can.
2 if possible?
Yeah,
Okay.
at this point, though, just option 1 for the, and I just want to have Chuck clarify the amount. Didn't catch that.
Chuck, can you clarify the amount?
Yes, the proposed improvement would be 161, just getting to the number here, $162,248 would be
Okay.
the entire improvement.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Phillips, I see you're not muted anymore. Did you wish to comment on this?
Yes, I'd like to know what the tax is going to be on the land. If you punch up my land, you see it's been in wildlife for 21 years. And I'm still getting nailed with taxes like you wouldn't believe. I've got over $100,000 into this ditch system in expenses. And there's not a drop of my water can get to the ditch. And I have 3 holding ponds that I made myself, of which you're saying is good catching basin. Well, I've already developed that on mine. I got 3 of them that I'm catching water. And I even catch water from Highway 10, runs onto my farm into the holding pond. So I think it's a little ridiculous the way I've been getting nailed.
All right. Is there,
Now,
Craig, can you answer that?
Well, we have ordered a redetermination of benefits on this, the viewer, for 86. Now that may have, this project may have very little impact on Mr. Phillips, because of my understanding, most of the cost of this lateral will be borne by the petitioners or the actual people who benefit in that sub-watershed where the lateral is actually located. I can't tell him how much Blaine will have, but it should be fairly minimal. Blaine does have a concern, with a valid concern about the benefits on his property, and that's why the redetermination benefits was ordered previously.
Hey, this is Chuck Randall. Could I please add a comment too to that?
Please.
Yeah.
Since I didn't mention it, but there is no proposed separable maintenance on the project. So only those that benefit from this tile will pay for this part of the project when the viewers look at it. Because this is a brand new tile, only the land in that 400 plus acres should be looked at from an assessment standpoint. Everybody outside of that area shouldn't have a benefit from this tile since it's a brand new lateral.
Does that answer any questions, Mr. Phillips?
Well, yeah, except that, back when they stuck this in on me, I've got a copy of the contract that they signed. They paid money under the table to get the thing through the first time, and it's just pathetic,
All right.
And if anybody'd like a copy of the contract that they signed under the table, or the copy of the check that they paid to ram it through after we had won at the Supreme Court, I'd sure be willing to show you. Or I
Okay.
could put in a free press if you'd like that better. I don't know.
All right.
Is
Well,
anybody interested in seeing the stuff?
does that have to pertain to this part of the ditch, Mr. Phillips?
It has nothing to do with the matter at hand today.
Okay. We certainly, if you have an issue, we certainly would be interested in seeing those issues, Mr. Phillips, but we have to talk about what's going on with what's happening today on this part of the ditch, okay?
Okay, I appreciate that. I just trying to get to the bottom of it is all.
I appreciate that. You have a good day.
Thank you.
All right. We do have a motion and we have a second. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would just like to thank Chuck, Commissioner Brender here. I'd like to thank Chuck for responding to the DNR questions. We always get those concerns from the DNR, and I appreciate that we try to work with them as best we can. And water quality is always a big issue here in Blue Earth County, and I think the answers you gave to those questions was adequate for me, and appreciate that extra effort.
Any other discussion? Jesse, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer. Aye. Commissioner Brunder.
All right.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye. And this concludes the County Ditch 86 ditch hearing. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
We now will go into Public Works. I believe we got Ryan around the corner that's going to come and talk to us.
Good morning, Ryan.
Morning, Ryan.
Good morning, Ryan.
Well, we've got a relatively light agenda today for our Public Works. Consideration of 5 action items and a little bit of discussion, and then I know we've got much more discussion and hopefully entertainment at the work session today. First action item is consideration of a resolution for right-of-way acquisition for County State Aid Highway 16. This is the piece from the Sewer River to CASA 90. Was originally planned for construction in 2021, but as we discussed a month or two ago, given the workload that we're facing and some of the struggles with pandemic and other staffing issues, we are going to push that one back at least a year into 2022. But we'd still like to have the resolution approved so that as staff availability to begin the right-of-way acquisition process frees up, we can get after it.
Brender will move approval.
People will second.
And a motion and a second. Any discussion? Jesse, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
All right.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Action item number 2 is consideration of final payment for County State Aid Highway 14. This is a state aid project 0007-614-013. The final payment amount is $3,125 to Mathewitz Construction Company. This is the segment, obviously southeast of St. Clair, that was reconstructed and recycled. Total contract amount paid to date to the contractor after this will be $4,035,510.60. So I would approve finaling that contract.
Brunder will move approval.
People,
Second.
We got a motion and somebody seconded here. Jesse, who'd you get?
Purvis.
Okay. You're not fast enough, Mark. Any discussion? Jesse, call a roll, please.
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye.
All right, thank you for that. Action item number 3, consideration of final payment for County State Aid Highway 4, State Aid Project 007-604-008. Total contract amount, $443,289.34, with the final payment amount being $9,409.13. This is for replacement of a large box culvert just east of Highway 22. I would recommend approval of this.
Anything from the board?
Brunder will move approval.
People
Our
second.
roll.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No discussion, it just looks like everything's happening in Kit's district.
Yeah. Well, that's
So we're letting
okay.
him,
No discussion. Jesse, please call a roll.
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye.
Well, the next one is for Commissioner Pepo. This is filing of the salvage and disassembly of the Kern Bridge, which was State Project 007-598-062. Carlton Companies, final payment amount, pay voucher amount, $5,925.53 for a total contract amount of $592,553.20. I would recommend approval of the final payment for this contract as well.
people moves,
Landcamer seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
well,
Only discussion I have is that it seems we have a shot at getting the Kern Bridge back here in Blue Earth County in the city of Mankato. I think that's exciting. I think it'd be great to have the renewed, obviously, it'll be, if there's any issues, rust, anything, it'll be taken care of before it gets put up, and I think it'd be a beautiful part of our park system here in Blue Earth County in the city of Mankato. So it will connect some trails, which are super important to us as a county, and I think that it'd be a huge benefit. So that's the only thing. It really has nothing to do with the Carlton companies, except that it's nice to see it coming back and possibly coming back to us.
Yep. City of Mankato will be one of what sounds to be 4 applicants for the bridge.
Right.
Sounds like Sherburne County will also be submitting an application, even though they weren't one of the top 3 in the initial scoring, but they were up in the top 4 or 5, if I remember correctly.
hey, what was the, before we go, there was the deadline or when are they gonna decide on?
I don't remember off the top
Can't
of my
remember,
head, but I
yeah.
can certainly
Just
take a
trying to
look and
remember.
get it to you.
So Sherburne County can still apply even if they weren't part of the
Correct.
top
Yep.
4.
Okay. Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye.
Okay. Action item number 5, consider an intent to cost participate agreement with the city of Mapleton for reconstruction of County State Aid Highway 7. As you may recall, the school district is constructing a new K-12 school at the southeast corner of Borchard Street and the city of Mapleton. And as part of that project, several infrastructure improvements are necessary, including the addition of turn lanes in various locations, and really to facilitate the new school, to make it a safer, given the fact that it's a transition point from a 55 mile an hour, 2-lane rural roadway coming into town, and that the school primary entrance is going to be right there off of 7. I think from a safety standpoint and functionality standpoint, urbanizing that segment to a 3-lane road makes the most sense, which would help with the building of the turn lanes that are necessary, some of the traffic queuing, and also obviously creating that urban feel is going to help slow motorists down a little bit as they're entering town. So this is our typical cost participation agreement that we have structured with our small municipalities, where the county pays for 90% of the county stated highway eligible road items, and the city pays for 10% share as well of all of their sewer and water reconstruction costs, which on this project are not anticipated to be necessary. In addition to the responsibilities in this agreement, the city's also expressed interest to extend sidewalk along County Stated Highway 7 north about 3 blocks to the city park. That would connect to the rest of the sidewalk system. It would help create a north-south connector to town. So that's a 50-50 cost share with the city for the sidewalk costs that are represented in this agreement. All in all, Blue Earth County's anticipated cost share is $933,000, and the city of Mapleton's cost share is $130,000, thereabouts. So the city has already approved the agreement. I would recommend the county approve the agreement as well.
Brunder will move approval.
People will second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Ryan, I assume the infrastructure is in good condition underneath, and the only reason why I ask is we're working with the city of Eagle Lake, who reconstructed a road 37 years ago and thought they had good infrastructure underneath, so
Yeah.
I'm sure their engineers looked at it, but it was just a point I wanted to bring up.
Right. 7, if I remember correctly, is not as new as 27 is in Eagle Lake, to the point where I struggled assigning that cost responsibility to the city of Mapleton in this circumstance, because it wasn't their city utilities that were driving the project. It was the school, coupled with that the road is going to need, and as I look farther south on 7 too, it will need more pavement work in the future. I think that's something that's probably on our 10-year projects list anyway, so I think it's close enough to the end of its anticipated service life that we would struggle to maybe assign that level of responsibility to them.
Yeah, and I support that, but my question actually goes more towards the infrastructure in the ground.
Oh.
Or is there not as much infrastructure?
They're
underneath that
not
road?
doing any sewer water underneath 7. It's being brought down a lateral city street
Okay,
to the
all right.
east. Yep.
That answers my question.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Yep.
I was just concerned about, I'm not concerned about it today, I'm concerned about it in 35 years when they have to tear up the road again, and replace it, and the road isn't to the end of its life again.
Understood.
I will probably not be here, but we always
You
have to
might.
look forward to that. in the
You're
future.
young.
You are the youngest one in the board.
Thank you for that clarification,
You're
Ryan. I
welcome.
appreciate that.
All right. Any other discussion? Jesse, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye.
All right, that wraps up my action items. Just a little bit of a wrap up on the year with respect to our parks. As you know from our extensive conversations, we had to limit the campsites available to the public due to COVID restrictions in order to meet the state's guidelines for campsite spacing, et cetera. So when we took away, I believe, 21 or 22 campsites combined between Bray and Daly Park, it obviously is going to cut into the revenues. So camping was strong this year for the sites that were available, and I think we saw even more camping into the week than we would typically see because of people looking for a getaway with limited recreational opportunities. But with that being said, our look back at our 2020 park statistics after the COVID restrictions and the refunds we had to make for some of the canceled campsites. Total parks revenue collected was $143,195.78. Compared to our budgeted revenues of $165,500, that's down about $22,300. Total camping nights for 2020 was 6,180. If you look back at 2019, we're at 6,659, so a little bit less than 500 campsites lower, to be anticipated again when you cut 22 sites out for the course of the year and then have a delayed opening as well. We did not do boat rentals this year, which was a loss of an anticipated $7,500 revenue. So all in all, our total lost revenue compared to our budget was $29,800. So I hate to wrap up with bad news, but I just thought it was an interesting statistic when it came across my desk, and I actually think it could have been
Worse.
considerably worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting when you're talking about campsites and stuff, and obviously we get commissioners here, including myself, that do camping, and personally, I've seen a lot more people camping this year.
Yep.
It is obviously you're out by yourself and socially distancing from a lot of people, and that's what camping is. I'd be interested in hearing if we're still looking into the increase at Bray Park. I know we talked about putting more campsites in Bray Park.
Right.
And what year, if we're talking next year, if we're talking 2 years, 5 years, what year we're thinking about doing that?
So, and I hate to flip the question back, but I know we talked about that last year when the opportunity for the DNR outdoor recreation grant funding announcement came up, and I know at the time the board was not quite ready to move forward, and I'm certainly, I think staff is certainly supportive of moving forward with a funding application if the county's willing to commit to the matching funds. I believe that grant is, I'd have to double check it, but I believe it went up to like $150,000 that would contribute up to 50% of total project costs, which was about the project cost to add those campsites at Bray Park. I'm certainly open to applying for it. I think it's a strong contender for that type of grant, and moving forward if the county is willing to be ready to commit to the matching funds, obviously, is the challenge. But right now, we don't have anything budgeted in our departmental budget at this point in time. And I'm certainly happy to have that conversation.
Thank you, Ryan. And I know this is something that we need to talk more in work sessions and get discussed between us. But it's, I think it's important. It appeared in the past that we had a 5 to 7 year payoff, which is amazing. And I know Bray Park and Daly are diamonds for the Blue Earth County for campsites. Awesome campsites. So just my own feelings, so thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask, so you're talking about 225,000
Total cost?
total costs?
I'd have to go back and double.
50% of the 150 and
50,
then,
well, no, I think we could get up to 100, so up to $300,000 total project cost potentially.
okay.
I can double check. In fact, I just saw in my inbox yesterday or Friday, I think the announcement came out again that those funds were available.
Okay.
So I can certainly take a look again. I know we got $100,000 for the purchase of Red Jacket Valley Park from the same grant source.
Okay. I just didn't have my numbers right, I
Yep,
guess. So
absolutely.
150 would be 50% of the project.
Yep, up to $150,000
Yep.
or
Up
50% of
to-
the project cost.
And then we'd have to pay the other 50%,
Correct,
so.
up to 150 or thereabouts, depending which option we selected and costs. And a lot of it we could do, with our park staff, or some of it we could do with park staff, which would help cut down on our external costs.
I know this is a longer conversation, I was just trying to get some
Yeah,
numbers
I'm more
in
than
my
happy to
brain.
have it. I think it'd be a fun project to do.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think we have any time restrictions, so we're doing okay.
Yeah. I was just trying to get the numbers.
yep.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
that's all I have.
Obviously, you have people interested in that, so make sure, we bring that up soon, because, I'd be very interested in.
Okay. I'll take a look at that while we're
pursuing that.
waiting here, and if we have time during the work session, we could touch on it, or I can send you an email as well to just hit on the highlights if you prefer that.
I think one of the things we need to think about is, as the state's looking at a huge budget deficit, are there any of those grants even going to be available?
Like I said, this was the solicitation
Yeah.
announcement, so this one is for now, but whether future years, if ever.
Yeah, this is under a legacy grant, right?
I believe so.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, Ryan.
See you in a little bit.
Sounds.
All right, so now we will go into administrative services. Bob?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, the first item is the county board minutes for November 17th.
Landcamer moves the minutes.
Purvis seconds.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Jesse, call a roll, please.
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye.
Next would be the bills for the 2 weeks indicated.
Brenda will move the bills.
Purvis seconds.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Jesse, call a roll, please.
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 5 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. We just have a few informational items for the board today. We have received a resignation of a correctional officer in our jail, and so we have initiated recruitment to fill that position. And then we've also initiated recruitment to fill an environmental health specialist in our Property and Environmental Resources Department. That was a resignation that occurred a little while back that we evaluated and are deciding to move forward with. So I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have on the Human Resources agenda.
Looks like we can go on to our next thing. I think we're talking about liquor licenses.
Yes, in the packet is a memo outlining the 2021 intoxicating liquor licenses. We received applications from 6 different organizations that have historically pursued licensing under our liquor license fee. And so those applications have been reviewed by the county attorney and the county sheriff. And so bringing those forward and recommending approval by the board today.
I'll move the liquor licenses for this 21.
Second?
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Tough year for all.
It is.
There was, you know, it was a tough year. And it seems like folks in the wineries and the bars and stuff got hit the hardest. I'm wondering if somebody would like to amend this and maybe cut this in half or cut the cost in half for, you know, the liquor licenses and the across the board. I know the wineries, I believe, and pay $400.
That's correct. They're just a beer license, so it is reduced from the full intoxicating liquor license.
And the bars, like, the only real bar, complete real bar we have is the Windmill Bar down in Mapleton, correct?
Well, you know, the others operate as golf
But
courses
they
and stuff,
operate
but-
seasonally, right?
Right,
But they still pay the same amount, correct?
yes.
And I would be open if somebody would like to throw an amendment to cut the cost. What's the cost of the full liquor license?
For a 7-day license, it's $1,700. All of the non-winery applicants pay for the full 7-day license. There is a 6-day license that would prohibit Sunday sales, but none of these have opted for that option.
So we're not talking a lot of money for Blue Earth County, but we might be talking a lot of money for these individual owners.
Yeah, it's about $700 to $800 total for Blue Earth County.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
would it be in our best interest to approve these today and then talk about a reduction at the next meeting on the 15th? Or do these gotta be paid by they gotta be paid by the end of the year?
Well, it's actually a state license, so after the board takes action, we send these licenses up to the state for final approval. We keep the fee, so it's a timing issue in terms of getting those licenses back to the businesses by January 1st.
in my understanding, they've already paid their license fee, right?
That's correct.
So if we do cut this, we'd be paying them back.
Yes,
Is
it
that
would be a
correct?
refund situation.
They'd be getting a refund.
Mr. Chair, we have a motion and a second to approve these. We could discuss and do a refund at any time then, would be my understanding, or would it have to be done today?
I think that's a possibility. We'd have to maybe research that a little bit if we did want to
Even if we
come
cut
back
it
with
today?
a revised fee schedule for 2021. That would certainly seem to me be possible, but we'd want to research that a little bit more.
So it probably wouldn't be in our best interest to cut them in half today then, would it, till we check into the different things we have to deal with, or is it, they've already all
Well,
paid?
the board has the authority to set the license fee, so you could potentially pass a resolution that could reduce the fee for 2021. I personally would not recommend it for longer than that particular year, kind of recognizing the pandemic, but, you know, it really is an option the board has here today.
I mean, this is a great idea as it looks, but I'm a little uncomfortable about just popping it in here today, I guess. I mean, it's a great idea, but I just don't want to do anything wrong, and so I don't know if nobody else has, I don't have a problem supporting it. I just want to make sure everything's
My
right.
idea on this is to do it just for 21. It'd basically be a pandemic type refund, because it is a refund they'd be getting, because they've already paid the bill. That's my idea, and we're not talking about, I mean, Blue Earth County itself doesn't license a lot of liquor stores. I mean, most liquor stores are licensed by cities across the county, and they handle their fees. But yes,
Just a question. Since they've paid, it's going to the state, but the state doesn't get any of the money, correct?
That's correct. We
Okay.
keep the fees
But they
here.
need the license from the state
Correct.
Yes.
By the first of the year.
by the first of the year. So
Mhm.
I was thinking the same thing, Mr. Chair, about is there an opportunity to assist some of these businesses? But since they've already paid, they need the license by the first of the year, and we know that sometimes it takes a little longer to get a license than we think it's going to take. Why don't we approve this today, and then we can go back and reduce it with a refund later if we deem that appropriate? Does that make sense?
I'd be more comfortable with that. Commissioner.
That works for me.
I'm
Yeah.
repeating what you said for all
I mean,
intents and
I would-
purposes.
I would even
think
accept that.
I agree. And I'm more than willing to be able to discuss this further. It's just that I think, you know, this is just one more way that I think that Blue Earth County can help its businesses across the county. I mean, we do the best we can. We have given out the grants from CARES Act and stuff, but I think this is one more way that we can help our businesses. And so, without...
Chair?
Yes.
I just want to say, I agree with you, and we're always looking ways that we can help our businesses. But since they've already paid, they need the license, we can go back and address it. From my perspective, help me if I'm wrong, Pat?
I think it would be the appropriate procedures, what you and Commissioner Brunner are talking about.
Could we bring this up in 2 weeks?
We certainly can try and do the research and bring it back then.
All right.
Yeah.
Then, with that idea, unless there's more discussion on this, Jesse, could you call a roll?
It works.
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Langhammer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye. All right. And then we got our business assistance grant.
Yes, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I have number 7 in the packet is a memo again regarding the Business Assistance Grant Program. You'll recall at the last board meeting, we indicated there were a few applicants that had not completed all of the documentation needed to receive the grant awards. We did receive information from one applicant that completed their full documentation, and so bringing forward that one additional grant to blanking on the name, but
Ride transportation.
thank you. And this is a grant in the amount of $10,000.
Ready to ride.
I'll move approval. Landcamer.
People seconds.
A motion and a second, any discussion? Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner People.
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder.
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye. And I believe we're done with the administrative part, right, Bob?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
We'll go on to our commissioner reports. Commissioner Purvis.
Oh,
Wow, that's great, and mine's very short, as a matter of fact.
You notice I just skipped a few, just to...
Yeah, no, I only had, on the 23rd, I had Rural Minnesota Energy Board and the PACE meeting, and the Zoom meeting, and we're just kind of wrapping up the year-end stuff. Things look pretty good. We recognized that one of our commissioners on the board passed, and that was tough because he was real active on the board, good friend to all of us. So, and we gave out a couple more PACE loans, and I had some numerous contacts with constituents regarding taxes, drainage, and common stuff. That's my report.
Commissioner Brunder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After our last board meeting, Mark and I were on a conference call with Micah. A lot of things going on up there, getting spooled up for the upcoming session. We wrapped up the 3 or 4 platform items that we had been discussing and got those approved. Our annual meeting at this point is going virtual, I would imagine, but still up in the air, trying to figure out some last minute things on that. So you all get an invitation to that when we get ready to get that going. Had EMS meeting. Everything's going really well there. We've been receiving some grants with some from different organizations. Seatbelt money is way down, so that's a concerning issue for our budget because that's kind of our staple of our budget. We lost 3 members off of that board: Tom Warmka, Kathleen Sullivan, and Bill Pinsky, who have all been on that board a long time. Tom and Bill retired. Tom had 20 years and Bill had 18 years in. As far as I know, they were both on that committee for the whole time. So those 3 commissioners will be missed. And again, this pandemic is tough on everybody, but I think that's the thing I miss the most is you can't recognize people that have given so much of their time and effort into doing things for the community and boards like this. You can't give them a good acknowledgement of what they did. We had to say thank you for your service over the internet and mail them their plaque that we got them. So it's unfortunate, but those 3 certainly deserve, as well as everybody else that served on boards and committees throughout the years, need to be mentioned. But good working with them. They were good mentors to me. So then we had our regional radio board. Not a whole lot of new stuff going on there. We have some grants to approve and some more radios to get rolling. And then we had our extension meeting. Will and I had extension call in. That was got our reports from everybody there. Had a couple technical difficulties. I think Will and I both had technical difficulties getting in, but we both got in. Kelly did a great job keeping us on track. We got through the agenda. We did the reviews for the members that are on the employees. We did the employee reviews, which is always very difficult. We only interact with them, very minimal, but we do our best with trying to do the reviews. And of course, it's kind of a long process and a lot of questions, and but it works good. We all get together and put our input in and got those done. And thank Will for his service on that extension committee since he's been on the board. So we acknowledge that, and we have one other person that was getting off the board, Bev. One other member.
Yeah.
So we acknowledged her. Then I was out doing some county ditch stuff and drainage stuff and road stuff like Will's talking about. And then yesterday we had a conference call at the City of Eagle Lake talking about the County Road 27 project through the City of Eagle Lake. That is my report, Mr. Chair.
All right. Commissioner Langham.
Okay. On the 17th, we had an ACO Central Committee meeting, just talking about, with the senator was on from Missouri, talking about what he sees in the upcoming session in Congress. Then I went to the Riverfront Drive Roundabout, which was very exciting. You know, the process, and there were some comments from various people who are impacted by it, so I always think those conversations are good. Vance had great comments, and you know, it's quite an involved roundabout. I mean, I think when I looked at the schematics, it's really involved. So that was interesting and good. I know Ryan said that he wanted people to come, so I went. On the 18th, I was on the coffee with AMC President's Fee and Julie Ring. A lot of talk about what counties are doing with COVID and how they're, with their dollars and the impacts they're finding in their communities. Stearns County that day was just, you know, off the charts with problems with people being infected. Then later that morning I was on a call that was all about COVID and the women's recession. Women are being impacted much more by the COVID, losing their jobs, that type of thing, much more than other genders. So it was an interesting and a lot of good data. Then I had Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership that day, a board meeting talking about how we move forward. Luckily, there's been some investment on PPE and that kind of thing, but you know, our I call it workforce housing is really critical for all of our communities, and Southwest kind of does the southern part of the state. Then I had community education that night. We talked about the hockey rink. I can't think.
Oh, yes.
All
Seasons Arena.
All Seasons. Being transferred from community ed to the city of Mankato, which I think to all of us makes great good sense because they can do a lot of things with the hockey arena and also with what they're using at the Civic Center. So I think that makes sense. Community ed, you know, has had a real challenging year for the simple fact that a lot of the programs that they deliver, they haven't been able to deliver. So more to come there. I think everybody's trying to deal with some of that. And then that evening later, MSU does a civil engineering project every year. And so they present their findings. It's all students. It's always really good. Steve Druschel, who is the professor, does a really nice job of, they dig into, you know, and it was in Amboy this year, so it was interesting. On the 19th, I got a call from Capo Ruralk, who is would like to start some carpet recycling in Mankato, keeping it out of the landfill for one thing, but also talked about he's been working with the metro counties, and they've been really interested in this also, just because the less things we can put in our landfill, the better off. They would put a big container where the carpet would go. I know we take out mattresses now and a bunch of other things, so it's just something that might be well worth looking at. I sent it to Bob, and Environmental Services is going to look at it. On the 24th, at a YMCA board meeting, but they're doing distance learning. They've got 71 students at the Y right now that they're helping with distance learning. They're in pods of 6. So, you know, different ways of doing things. There's a lot of people who have to go to work every day and need somebody to help with distance learning. On the 25th, this was really interesting. So Jake Sullivan was on a call with the University of Minnesota, a webinar talking about the future of foreign policy. He's a new national security director, and he's in Minnesota. So I've worked with him in the past, so it was interesting to see what he sees happening in that arena. And Vice President Londa was also part of that, who talked about how times have changed since he was the vice president, and that now we're looking at rebuilding our economy. That's the way you can work in national security. So lots of interesting stuff. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Commissioner People.
Okay, Kip already brought up the night 17th, we did have a MICA board meeting, and of course that had a lot to do with the changes with the legislature, the makeup, and the power structure, committee chairs, and all that. And I did have a Partners for Affordable, our annual meeting on the 20th, and that was, we also discussed our big fundraiser, Pedal Past Poverty, and we had, we do have a big signature donor, of course, and that's in the medical community, so then we're looking at what we do with our event. It's supposed to be in February, and with all the, everything's happening and trying to, we decided to postpone it for spring, because maybe we could do outside, we could have stationary inside, wherever, but you could also have people on a regular bike, so we'll see. Anyway, just seems to be able to work a little better. Other than that, I did have then on Friday the 20th, Gaburba, Greater Blue Earth River. That was, we do have our joint powers agreement for the Watonwan River watershed, and of course the county, we took care of that, but that has been now finally finalized, so, and that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, after our board meeting on the 17th, I had a NACO Central Region meeting call. On the 18th, I had a Corrections Advisory Board meeting, and then a Transportation Alliance Board of Directors meeting. On the 19th, I had a TDS board meeting. Thank God all these are virtual, so we're being zoomed out here. And then on the 20th, I had my Rural Action Caucus monthly meeting. Okay. I believe you started that, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yep. That's a good one.
And then really, then the 24th, I had an Airport Commission meeting. And last, I had a, we had a virtual test run for the AMC conference yesterday. So the board of directors for AMC had got online and ran that through. I have to say that I did receive a call this last week from President Svei from AMC, and they put me on a statewide transportation plan advisory committee for the state of Minnesota through MnDOT. I was rather honored for that, and there's a lot more people. I believe I am the rural commissioner that's going to be on there. I believe Commissioner McDonough from Ramsey County is the urban commissioner, and they do have an alternate. I don't know what the name is. I'm sorry.
Can I make a comment on that?
You can.
I just think it really is helpful to Blue Earth County to have you there. It's a compliment to you and your knowledge, and et cetera, but also it's really a big plus for Blue Earth County to have Blue Earth County's voice on that committee, so thank you for doing that.
Well, I appreciate that, and of course I have been chair of the Transportation and Infrastructure for AMC, and I really do look across the state and find out what, and try to help what's going to help, you know, not only for Blue Earth County, which of course we're super important, but for Roseau County and for Martin County and for Wadena County all the counties and how it helps the whole state of Minnesota. So I think that's super important. I think it's important for us to look and, you know, when you start looking at bonds and stuff, how we can separate the large bridges from the urban area like Minneapolis and St. Paul from the rural counties, because so many times that we get bonding for bridges and everything goes to one bridge, and it really hurts rural Minnesota. And so that's one thing that I'm always going to be looking at and always going to be dedicating myself to make sure that's fair and proper across the state. At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to recess. We will go into our work session, and then this evening at 6 o'clock, we will come back and we have a budget advisory, our budget meeting at 6 o'clock.
We recess, but could I make one more comment before we do
You
that?
can make as many comments as you want.
Thank you. Just so everybody knows, I've got a NACO board meeting later this week, but the proposal is going to be that the LEDGE conference be virtual. So you can change that on your calendar.
One more trip we're not going to go on, right?
That's right. So I move that we recess.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. Jesse, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye. And we're recessed.
Thank you. You know, an interesting comment though.